Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Squid Game, Season 1, Episode 7, VIPs, is the episode I will be spoiling as I break it down beat by beat, talking about it. Let's get into it. Obviously, the last episode was the Marble episode, brutal episode, where we saw people murder their closest partner in the game for money. One of those people was Ali, who is the first person we see in this one as he's dead in a coffin, as the coffin's being taken away. Was one of the characters that we didn't actually see him die, but now we know. Now we know that Ali is gone. And all the pink suits are cleaning up after the game, cleaning out the room of all the dead bodies. All the players go back into their barracks, and of course, the one and only Mi-nyeo, number 212, the most annoying character in this show, is there sleeping, waking up, didn't have to participate. She was left out. She was the odd person out in the previous game, and it was assumed that she would not survive. She would be eliminated for not having a partner to participate. But that is not what happened. She was able to just chill out and not have to which is one of the, out of all of the characters in this show, for her to be the one to not have to even participate in that last game, it goes to show how unfair this whole game is set up to be. But we have 17 players left. There is 43.9 billion won in the piggy bank. Everybody's just kind of waiting, eating potatoes, waiting to see what happens for the next game. We're the VIPs. Obviously, the title of this episode means that the VIPs, these people who gamble on these games remotely, are showing up to view the final games in person. And we have, in the similar artistic fashion and flair of this entire show, this entire season, they are wearing the most elaborate, gaudy masks, like golden masks of like geometric animals, which the masks look pretty cool. But this is also the episode where we see how absolutely horrible the English-speaking acting and writing is. The writing's not very good, and the acting is even worse. By far, the worst part of this show, top to bottom, is the acting and writing of these American VIPs. We're supposed to be like, no, I'm very wealthy, and we don't care about these people. But it's like it's written in the worst kinds of ways. But we get to see they're going into this viewing room, which doesn't really actually have the best view. You think they may have had monitors up or whatever, but they're in a viewing room. Their viewing room is like decked out with like comfy furniture and then like humans that are painted, and they're acting like, like there's a woman with giant tits who's acting as pillows for one of the guys. There's people like bent over to be like coffee tables and footrests. So it's really going above and beyond, kind of trying to set up this side of the coin, as it were. The people behind the scenes and why this whole thing is going on. It's not only just to give somebody the chance to, walk out of there with a bunch of money who desperately needs it, but it's a form of entertainment. They are the horses for these VIPs that they gamble on. And one of the guys is like, I bet on 69 because, the number 69 is super sexy. The Many Faces is an ongoing abstract ink portrait series that I started many years ago. I release a new face every day, but go to inspireddisorder.com to check them out. So many available. But as a listener to The Ray Taylor Show, you can save 10% when you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out. So go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF, that stands for The Many Faces. Go check them out, browse the entire collection, and when you decide on a piece, or maybe multiple pieces, make sure you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out, and you'll save 10%. As a big thank you for checking out my work, for collecting my work, and for listening to The Ray Taylor Show. And with that said, let's get back to the show. And then we find out number 69, who was the guy who was matched up with his wife in the previous episode where they played marbles. So one of the two had to die, and the husband made it through. And he's, back in the barracks, he's begging. He wants everybody to vote to quit the game because, he's clearly traumatized. Sang-woo is like, listen, bud, you knew what you were going into. It's not just your wife that died. It's all these other people that died. This is like, we've gone too far for you to call quits because you decided to win that game. Like, you could have taken the bullet literally for your wife and she could have been here. But he ends up killing himself. He ends up hanging himself while the players sleep. And, so the guy who bet on him is all butthurt because his sexual position of 69, like the most, it's not that surprising. Like, I could see somebody who would be quote unquote a VIP in this world making those kind of extremely childish type of jokes. Like, I just bet on it because it's, and then he goes to bet on 96, which thankfully the player 96 is still in the game. Or else, who knows what the guy would have done? Which there's nothing for 96. It's just the same numbers reversed. It's just bad writing. But we see the VIPs. They pull out this model of the Game 5, which Game 5 is a bridge of glass. Like, there's 2 rows of squares, and on each of those sets of 2 squares, one is tempered glass, one is regular glass. So they don't know which one to jump on. There's 16 players left. They're given the opportunity to choose which order they go in. They don't know what they're choosing. They're just choosing a number between 1 and 16. Gi-hun gets number 16 after almost going for number 1. But then number 96 convinced him to change. So he went with 16, which was good because once they found out what the challenge was, it's better to, on one hand, it's better to let people figure out which squares are, sacrifice themselves to, for the greater education of the group. But also, there's a time limit of 16 minutes that all 16 people have to get across this bridge. So, of course, there's going to be players, especially number 101, Deok-su, the gangster, who refuses to leave, refuses to move when he ends up becoming the person in front because everybody else has died. And he's just like, I'm not doing it. Like all bullies really do is they crumble when have to face real honesty. Like there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to pass the buck to. It's like you gotta man up and deal with this bridge that's ahead of you. So they're in the viewing room. There's this model for some reason of that bridge, which makes no sense. They have a model in front of them with little glass figurines, but then behind the model is the actual bridge. So there's no real need to have this model at all. Serves no purpose. They should have had the viewing room a lot closer to the bridge so they can be right up close and personal watching these people fall to their deaths, but whatever. The writing is the worst part of that. But I would have also tweaked that. We have the cop who infiltrates into the VIP viewing room as one of the waiters, who ends up getting sexually propositioned by one of the 69 guy. Obviously, super horny old white dude. So he propositions the cop and takes him to a back room where the cop switches it on him, pulls a gun on him, records a confession, which we don't see, but we see the setup to that. So the cop has gotten some information, and now he's kind of on the run. The front man, while the VIPs are showing up, the front man notices that the way his phone is hung up in his room is different than how he usually does it. He usually has the cord wrap around the receiver when it's put down, but the cord was just on one side. So the cop messed up when the cop was trying to make calls previous episode, put it down wrong. Front man saw it, front man knew it, so he knew somebody was there. So he's kind of, the front man is, while dealing with the VIPs, he's also trying to track down the cop, not knowing that the cop is right there until later, where they find the VIP passed out in the back room, and then that waiter is missing. So he figured that was the thing. Join Inspired Disorder Plus today. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. The game is the bridge. The players have chosen their numbers. The VIPs are watching, spouting horrible dialogue out into the air. The cop is trying to get away. The players are trying to go across the bridge. You have the super Jesus freak guy who is praying to God. I mean, he's praying throughout this whole season, but he's praying for God to give him a sign. And another player frustrated because the downside is people not moving along fast enough. So Gi-hun might not have an opportunity to get to the last three people might not have a chance to get to the other side because they are taking their sweet time. And this Jesus freak guy is doing that, taking his sweet time. And in that, another player frustrated goes to, kind of push him to a spot. And the Jesus freak guy instead throws him off, revealing which of the two squares in front of him is the glass. And he takes that as a sign from God. It's like, thank you, God, for letting me kill this person so I can take one step further. And then he does, and then it's the same thing again. But then you have the gangster guy who's, playing the game up until he finds out that he is the one in the lead, like I said earlier. And then he's like, oh, I'm not moving. We're all just going to die. Like, it's like he's the worst kind of, he's like the people that don't want to get vaccinated. They don't want to get masked. Like, he's all of those types of that mentality of like the ultra like selfishness of him. It's like me. It's me or nobody. Me or nobody. I'm not doing anything to help anybody. I'm not going to, no, that's not happening. But then you get the moment that I love, that like makes this episode so good and really reframes my opinion of the most annoying character in this show, which is number 212. That is Mi-nyeo, the loudmouth, always complaining, the one that hooked up with the gangster earlier on in the season. She pushes somebody aside, and she jumps to the square he's on. And she's like, I'll go ahead of you. So she, goes around to the front. Bear hugs him, interlocking her fingers. She wants to have the best grip possible. And then she tells him, it's like, listen, I told you I was going to kill you if you screwed me, and you screwed me. So this is where we're at. It is the greatest scene where she gets her revenge. Takes a back dive into the pane of glass, which it would have been interesting to see that scene, and then the pane of glass that she falls back onto is tempered, and it's just like they both fall onto it, and like, dong. But that's not what happens. They fall through. So she gets her revenge. She takes the gangster out, and she's gone too. And then there's one of the guys has like all of this experience in glass making, so he's able to actually see. Like, he gets low, he can see as the light passes through it. There's a slight difference in look to the tempered glass, so he's able to get them a few more squares before the front man notices and the VIPs notice that he's figured it out. And then they turn the lights off, so he's no longer able to figure it out. And it's basically him, Sang-woo, Sae-byeok, and Gi-hun. So you got the main character, the college pedestal, the hero of the city, Sang-woo, and then you have the pickpocket, Sae-byeok, and Sae-byeok. And then this glass manufacturer guy. So it ends up being, they all get across at the last seconds. Just like, it was funny, Gi-hun not knowing his very first step when he first starts. He's the last person to go, but he forgot what the first step was because it hadn't been broken. Like, the first step the first person took was the correct one, and he forgot. Sae-byeok helped him out there. But they are also the last three across, because Sang-woo, the glass guy, wasn't going to move, so Sang-woo just jumped and pushed him onto one, which was broken, thus finding out which pane of glass to go, so they're able to all get across just as the clock was running down. And after the clock ran down, the bridge explodes. Slow motion, glass flying everywhere. All three of them being injured due to this glass explosion. And then cut to the cop has gotten one of the scuba suits. He's out in the water trying to get away with his evidence, with his phone, all the notes and the confessions he took. And then you have the front man with a bunch of pink suits on a boat in the water trying to track him down. And that's where this episode ends. And it's a great episode. It's a great episode despite the fact that the English acting and writing was horrible. Bad. Everything else in this episode was pretty great. So we're down to 3 players now. Gi-hun, Sae-byeok, and Sang-woo. The 3 left. And then we have the cop on the run. You got the front man after him. And until next week, we'll see how I think there's 2 more episodes left. We'll see how it goes. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.